Good afternoon. My name is Charlie Wallace with Quality Service Contractors, and pleased to present Josh Nelson with Plumber SEO and Social Media Marketing today. This is the fifth in a series that we've been doing, and I believe we have another one or two after this. Josh is a QSC industry partner and has been very instrumental with a lot of members in helping them build their websites and get everything in the order they need to help attract more customers. And with that, Josh, I'm going to let you take it. One thing we will do today is everybody is on mute, and that is just to limit the background noise at this time. You're welcome to type in questions in the question box if you have anything, and we'll get to those periodically throughout the session, and then we'll open it up at the end, and you'll be able to ask questions, and you can always follow up with Josh afterwards. But Josh, take it away.
Thanks, Charlie. Thanks, guys, for joining me on the webinar today. I'm excited to be talking about social media, how you can start to leverage Facebook and Twitter and Google Plus and LinkedIn and all these cool social media profiles and platforms to connect with your customers, grow your business, and really take your business to the next level by leveraging these tools. And so I know we've got a pretty decent group on the webinar today. I can see all of you in attendance on the list here. I want to keep this webinar as interactive as possible. I mean, it's one thing for me to spend 45 minutes talking about social media and showing you cool pictures and showing you cool snapshots. But I think that you'd all get more out of it if you can have your questions answered. So by all means, type in your questions. I'll stop throughout the presentation to address them and answer them to the best of my abilities. And I just want to make this as a valuable use of you guys' time as possible and really add as much value as I can. So you're about to discover how social media applies to a plumbing and HVAC business. I think most of you get the idea that social media is very hot. There's millions and millions of people active in social media, but trying to connect the dots between how can I harness the power of all of these folks on social media in a way that's going to help me grow my plumbing or HVAC business is a question that needs to be addressed. So we're going to start there. Of course, we're going to share how you can leverage social media in your business. So the actual strategies and how-tos. We're going to talk about what social media profiles you want to set up and have active within your plumbing or HVAC business. How to develop your following. So how you can actually get your customers and the people in your area and your ideal target market to start to press that like button, press that subscribe button, press that follow button, so that as you're posting relevant information, they're not falling on deaf ears. And then I'll share some best practices on what to post, how often to post, what not to post, etc., so that you can get the maximum benefit from social media. So I try to break these down into simple steps. So in this case, I'm talking about the 6 steps to social media within your plumbing or HVAC business. And the first step really is to understand the power of social media and how it applies to your plumbing and HVAC business. The second step is to determine where to engage with all of the different social media platforms out there. It's best to know which ones you're going to get active in and why. Step 3, I'm going to talk you through how to set up your profiles. So what things you should pay attention to, what things you can ignore, and the main things you want to make sure to do as you set up your social media profiles. Talk you through how to establish your following. Again, you can have the prettiest social media site set up in the world and be posting great updates on a daily basis, but if you don't have real ears or real people seeing what you're posting, it won't amount to a hill of beans. So I'm going to talk about how to establish that following, and then how to map out your content engagement plan. Sometimes as you start to think about this, you say, well, what exactly would I post? What in the world could I put out on social media? So I'm going to share a thought process behind what you can post, share some specific examples, and give you a methodology for creating those pieces of content so that you can post on a consistent basis and really engage with your following and get the net result, which is more business, more leads, and bigger profits in your plumbing and HVAC business. So how does social media apply? This is the question I get when I talk to plumbing and HVAC contractors, when I go to the local chapter events, or I'm just talking one-on-one with the owner of a plumbing or HVAC business. is how can I actually harness the power of social media in a way that would help me grow my business? And so I'd like to answer that question by asking the question. And so the question is, what's your number one source of business today? Not what's making your phone ring, not the yellow pages, but what's the actual base fundamental of your business? Where does it come from? And I would imagine that the answer to that is repeated referral business. Your existing customers using you again, referring you to their friends, and that should be the bread and butter of your business. And so in my mind, there's a lot of different applications for social media, but the reality is social media is the most powerful way to harness repeated referral business. And so if you think about social media from that guise, how can I leverage Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and all of these other profiles in a way that's going to help me connect with my customers at a deeper level so that I can get more repeat and referral business? Then I think you're looking at it from the right perspective. I think you're setting yourself up for success in your plumbing or HVAC business on social media. And so the reason I say that is there's over 1.6 billion users on Facebook, right? And the average Facebook user has 135 friends and is checking into social media profiles between 6 and 9 times per day, either via their mobile device or on a computer. So if you can get a strategy in place to get your real customers, your real sphere of influence, your real people in your area to press the like button, to press the subscribe button, to press the follow button, well, by virtue of them pressing the like in the Facebook example, you're gaining exposure to their sphere of influence. And I say the average Facebook user has 135 friends, and they're also giving you permission to remain top of mind with them. So as they check in between 6 and 9 times per day, if you're putting relevant content out on social media platforms, you're giving them permission to say something to them, to remain top of mind. And all of that adds up to having a higher probability of getting more repeat and referral business from those folks. So it's really, there's a lot of different ways to harness it. There's a lot of different directions to go. But if you can think of it like that, if you can figure out how to get your real people to engage with you on social media, you'll be able to take your word of mouth and repeat business, inject it with steroids, and take it to a whole nother level. So now that we know the power of social media and where we want to focus our attention, we can talk about where we should set up our profiles. I talked about the fact that there are literally hundreds of different social media platforms that you can get involved with, but I always like to look at the 80-20 rule, right? What are the 20% of those social media platforms that I can engage with that are going to generate 80% of the result? And for me, as a plumbing or HVAC business, the social media platforms you want to be engaged with are Facebook as a business page, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Google+, and a blog. And so a blog that's on your website where you can post content. So let's talk about each of these in a little bit more depth and how they apply. So Facebook really is the 100-pound gorilla. It's the largest social media outlet that there is. And if you were going to choose any one of these different social media platforms, I would say get on Facebook. That's where your consumer base is. That's where they're spending their time. And so set up a Facebook business page. And in order to set up a business page, obviously you have to have a personal profile that you set up in your name attached to your email address. And from there, you can set up a business profile for your company. It's a very simple process. There are tons of how-tos that walk you step by step through it. So I'm not going to spend the time on this webinar showing you how to set up these profiles because it really is a very simple process. But set up a business page for your business on Facebook. The other one you want to set up is Twitter. And I probably get more pushback on the Twitter concept than anything else. You can use up to 140 characters on posts. And the amount of real-world engagement on Twitter from a consumer perspective is quite a bit lower. But you definitely want to be engaged in Twitter because it gives you tremendous social signals. So as you're posting your updates, as you're growing your following, you can definitely use that as power for your SEO efforts. but you definitely want to set up an @your-company for Twitter. The other one is LinkedIn. And so LinkedIn is the professional social media platform. LinkedIn would, be where business professionals, you as the owner of a plumbing or HVAC business or the marketer of a plumbing or HVAC business would want to have a personal profile, of course, where you can put your resume, information about you as an individual, where you've worked, what your experience and expertise is. You also are going to want to set up a company page on LinkedIn. And really the power of LinkedIn gives you the ability to connect with those other professionals that are out there. You can connect with a totally different demographic that you can on Facebook or even Twitter. So I think it's a no-brainer to be engaged in LinkedIn. And you could be a little strategic with it in that if you sell to restaurants, if you sell to property managers, you can make sure to connect with those types of people and put out updates that are relevant to that customer base. But you definitely want to have a personal LinkedIn profile, and you want to have a business company page. The other one I mentioned here is YouTube, and a lot of people would say, well, YouTube, how is that a social media platform? Well, YouTube actually does have the ability to engage subscribers, so actual people that are following your video updates, and to put out feed that's showing up for them as they check in on an ongoing basis. So it actually is a social media platform. A lot of people don't realize, though, that YouTube is the #2 most used search engine. So right behind Google, when somebody's searching for information, searching for things, the #2 most used search engine is YouTube. And so there's a major opportunity for you as a plumbing or HVAC business owner to be putting out relevant how-to type information on YouTube on a consistent basis. But you definitely have to have a YouTube channel, and you should have a base of videos for each one of your services. So one for emergency plumbing, one for drain cleaning, one for what to do in the event of a plumbing emergency, one for water heater installation or repair, one for the benefits of tankless, one for the benefits of trenchless. So write up a list of all the services that you provide, create a short video talking about that just like you would for a customer, upload it to YouTube, and you've got a great basic content for your YouTube channel. The next one you definitely want to be engaged in is Google+. And so Google+ is Google's answer to Facebook. Google decided they wanted to be in social media. They had tried a couple different platforms and failed, and they finally came out with Google+, which is a pretty robust social media platform. And it's also tied to your Google+ local listing. So that's your Google Map listing. If you've been on my Google Map optimization webinar where I talk about all of the fundamentals for getting your plumbing or HVAC business ranked on the map in your area, I talk about how to merge your old Google Places listing with your new Google+ local listing. But suffice it to say, you should have an active profile both personally and for your business, because it's going to be what ultimately controls your Google Map listing, and you want to be active on Google+. So if you had to choose any two of these social media platforms, I would definitely say you want to have one for Facebook and you want to have one for Google+. I feel that strongly about it, just because it's such a strong social signal indicator for Google, and it's growing. There's literally thousands of people engaging on Google+ on a daily basis. It's also tied to your authorship on your search results. So if you've ever wondered when you run a search why some people have a face next to the search result, so up here I typed in a search and you can see the one I'm pointing to. It's not just a result, there's also a face, a picture next to it. And that's because that individual has a Google+ profile that's been accurately connected on Google+, showing authorship, and then a piece of code was sent back to the website that Google was able to spider, and that's called authorship. And you do that through Google+. So setting up a personal Google+ page, having a real picture of yourself, and then following some simple steps to have authorship is a powerful way to make you stand out on the search results. And then, of course, the last social media profile that I really think you should be engaged in as a plumbing or HVAC business is a blog. And so really a blog should be the central hub for all of your content. And a blog could be on blogger.com or it could be on wordpress.com. But in the perfect world, it should be on yourcompany.com/blog. That way there's authority being attributed back to your company and relevant updates that are being made on a consistent basis. And as you create content, whether it's a blog update that's an article, a video that you post to YouTube, a how-to that you might create as like a PDF ebook, all of that should be posted to your blog and then syndicated out to your social media profiles. So the blog should be your central content hub for everything that you do. So now let's talk about how to set up your social media profiles. And so obviously we talked about Facebook, Twitter, Google+, LinkedIn, and your blog. On each one of these, you want to start by developing your brand in your profile. And so they all give you options as far as the picture that you upload as your profile picture. They give you options on what you can upload for your description. Think about your brand, think about your company as you set up these profiles. So on your bio, spend some time on YouTube. You can put 4,800 characters, which is 700 words. On Facebook, 2,000 characters, which is 300 words. On LinkedIn, same. And then on Twitter, it'll limit you to 160 characters for your bio. And this is important because this is how you can start to establish yourself as an organization. So that when somebody gets to your social media profiles and wants to read a little bit more about who you are and what you do, they can read, okay, this is a company that was founded in this year. This is what makes them unique. So really spend some time. If you've crafted a unique selling proposition, which I highly recommend, this definitely needs to be in the bio section of your social media profiles. And you can keep it relatively consistent. You don't have to write a completely different bio on Facebook as Twitter, as Google+. You can take a lot of that same content and use it on all of these social media profiles. The other thing you want to think about is the icon that you use to represent yourself on social media profiles. And so I've got a couple different examples up on the screen. And if you're a large brand, right, with multiple offices and not a personality brand, you probably want to use your logo when it comes to your Facebook page and your Google+ local listing and your Twitter account and your LinkedIn business company page. So you can use the logo. That's a great way to do it. The other option, though, is if you're a personality brand, and I recently did an interview with Kenny Chapman, the service coach, and he talked about the power of branding your company around your personality. And so for him, he's got his face on his trucks, and so does Mary Jean Anderson, and they've really got big personality brands. So where you are developing yourself as a personality brand, use a picture of yourself and use that as the icon on your Facebook and your other social media profiles. Some examples of what you don't want to do in your icon or in your profile picture. Don't use a cartoon. I've got an example here of Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. We're glad that you like Shaggy, and maybe it's your nickname, but it's not relevant to your business. It's not going to resonate. So use a real picture. Don't use some Shaggy cartoon. The other thing is, don't put a picture of you engaging in some unsavory activity. And so on your personal profile, you might have a picture of you out with your friends drinking or smoking or doing something unsavory. Obviously, you don't want to use that as the profile page on your social media platform. Any of them. And so the other thing you want to think about as you set up these social media platforms and these social media profiles is you want it to mesh with your overall branding. So ideally, you set up brochures, you set up business cards, and you've got a website that have a certain color scheme and they have your logo. You want to make sure that that branding carries over, not just to your Facebook page, but to your Twitter profile, to your YouTube channel. And so here's an example of how you can leverage personality on your social media profile. And so this is Katya Plumbing out of San Mateo, and you can see here they're using pictures of the team, both in their profile image and on the header graphic. And you'll see this pretty consistently with personality-style brands that resonate. People buy from real people. They don't buy from companies. And so If you want to seem ultra professional and you want to have stock photography and fake individuals, I don't recommend it. I certainly don't recommend it on your social media. Try and be as real and as authentic as possible. If people start to see the real people behind the organization, and you can bleed that into your website, and you can bleed that into your social media profiles, that's going to work very well for you. And so use it as your, use real imagery in your icon and in the header graphic on your timeline images. So some other things you want to do as you start to brand this, make sure that you have links to these social media profiles on your website. So if somebody does get to your website, they can see the social media icons, they can click the link, and quickly jump over to your website. And so I've got some examples. Here's in the header graphic, direct links to the social media profiles. Here's another example where you can see the icons. You can see that they're prominently listed in the top right-hand corner, and it's just easy for somebody to click that social media icon and get to the page. I'm going to talk a little bit about how to develop your following in a minute and some strategies on how you can get people to press that like button, but this is a great way to get your potential customers that are thinking about doing business with you to get to that social media profile, possibly press the like button. But really the power of having these social icons with direct access is it's a credibility symbol. People can go and see who you are, they can learn more about your company, and they can see what other people are saying about you. Because it's less about what you say and more about what your actual customers are saying. And if you've got a proactive social media strategy that's engaging, you're going to have your real customers in your real service area saying things about you. And hopefully it's good stuff, right? Hey, these guys came out and fixed my heater and they did a great job and I really recommend them. The other thing you can do is you can pull in your social media stuff to your website. And so there are a lot of little short codes that you can take from Facebook without doing any custom programming, drop a piece of code on your website, and have what we call a like screen. And so people can see right on your web page what's happening in your social media, how many people have liked you, and instantaneously see who they're friends with and which of those friends have already liked your business. And so it builds that camaraderie and it builds the probability that somebody's going to say, hey, this is a company that I can trust because my cousin Bill or my friend John used their services. So the next thing you want to do is you want to establish your following. And so this is really where the rubber meets the road. It's nice to have a pretty social media profile. It's nice to be on all these social media platforms. But until you have a following, until you have real customers and real people in your area that have pressed like, subscribe, or follow, it's not going to amount to much. So now let's talk about how you can establish your following on social media. And guys, feel free to chime in with your questions. I've been watching the question box. I haven't seen any questions as of yet, but I see that there are a number of you on the line. So please, by all means, chime in with your questions, and I will do my best to address them. So how to connect and get your following going on social media? Well, the first and lowest hanging fruit is to leverage email to get initial engagement. So the way I like to start when we're launching a social media strategy for one of our clients is to develop a list of what I call your sphere of influence. And so your sphere of influence could be your family members, it could be your friends, it could be people that have recently done business with you. It could actually be a complete export of your entire customer database in an email format. And what you want to do with that sphere of influence is send a soft message out that just says, hey, we appreciate your business, we appreciate your support over the years, and we're getting actively engaged in social media, and we'd love to have you engage with us. And then put out a simple email message letting them know that you're active on Facebook, you're active on Twitter, you're active on YouTube, whichever one you're going to start with first, whichever one you're going to place the most emphasis on. Give them a direct link to that place and ask them to press the like button, ask them to press the subscribe button. Now my recommendation on sending this email is don't make it a one-push email. Give them a little bit of information and try and touch them 3 times over about a 2-week period. So the first one could just be a, hey, here's what's going on, check out our social media profile here. The second one could be a little bit of, here are the benefits of pressing the like button, maybe things you're going to be updating them about, local networking opportunities, local home shows that are happening, tips on how they can be properly maintaining the plumbing or the heating in their home. So let them know why they would want to press the like button, and then possibly as a third touch, offer them some type of incentive. And so simple incentive could be something like a coupon on their next service. I actually like better to give them something of value that isn't necessarily related to them having to do business with you. So a little trinket, a certificate of some sort, and start to build your following of real people there in your real service area. From there, you want to make social media connectivity part of your daily communication with your customers. So as you're sending out emails, right, and I'm sure you send a lot of emails, as you're sending out invoices, have a link to your social media profiles on each one of those pieces of communication. And make it part of your ongoing process. So don't stop at having an email database and sending out that one email that says, hey, we're on social media, press the like button. As you're servicing new people on an ongoing basis, you should be collecting the name, email address, and phone number of all of those people in some type of database, whether it's a CRM or some other content management system. And you should be sending an email, maybe not instantly after service, but maybe a week later, that says, hey, we really appreciate the opportunity to serve you. Here's what we're doing in social media. We'd love it if you connect with us and be part of our online community. And then give them a direct link to that place where they can press the like button. So there are a lot of tools that can help you with this. Setting up a simple autoresponder like Aweber or Instant Customer. You can have a sequence of emails go out so that after somebody gets served by you the first time, always recommend the first email be a thank you and request for review. Having real reviews from your real customers in your real service area is extremely important for getting ranked on the Google map and for building your credibility. So I always want that first email to be a thank you and request for review on the major online directory listings. But the second touch could be a, hey, we'd love it if you'd write us, we'd love it if you'd engage with us on social media. So here are some examples. You know, this is just an example of an email signature. So every time you send an email, instead of just having your name or typing out your name, set up a signature and then have the links to your Facebook page, to your Twitter, to your YouTube, wherever you've decided to be active in these social media platforms. You can also add it to your invoice. I don't know if you invoice electronically or if you invoice by paper, but you can definitely put it on both. If it's electronic, hyperlink to the link. If it's on paper, just actually spell out, you know, what the URL is where they can engage with you in social media. Have it on your business cards. No reason not to have two things on your business cards. Obviously, your general contact information. The first thing is have a place where they can go and write you a review. So this is another place where you can have, you know, yourcompany.com/write us a review and have a direct link to the various places where they can write you a review. But also on there, you can have direct links to your social media profiles. And so I've got a visual representation of how you might do that in your business cards. Now the next thing you can do really to build your following beyond just your sphere of influence. So to this point, we've talked about sending out emails, really engaging with the people that you're doing business with on a day-to-day basis and the people that have done business with you in the past. And that's really where I think you should spend 90% of your time. Spend most of your time on your real sphere of influence because the power of social media is to get those people more engaged with you, more apt to use you again, and more likely to refer you to their friends. But you can also develop your following by leveraging some of the paid online marketing strategies available on Facebook. So you could set up a simple like campaign based on your target demographics. And so I've got some screenshots here that will show you how to set up a basic like campaign. And it doesn't have to be very expensive. So if you're logged into Facebook, I'm assuming at this point you've got a personal profile and you've got a business page for your company. You would go to the top right-hand corner where that little gearbox is, and then you let the drop-down come down, and you click Create an Ad. And from there's a couple of options. You can promote a post. You can do some, some advanced things. But what I'm recommending is just a simple Get More Likes campaign. So you click the Get More Likes button. Obviously, you pick your page, which is your business page for your company, and then you can set your demographics. And this is where Facebook is really interesting you can get real granular with who you want to see your page. And so you can put in your city, you can select a certain mile radius, so maybe 25 miles, maybe 30 miles, maybe even 50 miles. So anybody within that 50-mile radius, you want to show up for them. You want to set the age demographic, right? So in my interviews with other plumbing and HVAC businesses like yourself that are very successful, they've spent a lot of time figuring out who their target customer is. And it tends to be a homeowner between the ages of 35 and 75 that are great fits for your plumbing and HVAC services. So definitely set that demographic. You can actually choose the age group and be very selective with some of these other criteria, what their interests are. Are they interested in certain things that your customers are interested in? And then you set your budget. And you can set a budget as little as you like. You can set a flat $50 budget. You can set $1 a day. You can set $10 a month. There's all kinds of flexibility with how you set your budget, and you're paying on a per impression basis. And so you can start your campaign, and if you set the demographics correctly, there's no reason that you should be getting likes that aren't relevant. You're going to be getting likes from people that you know are of the age group that you're interested in the area that you're interested in, and that's a great way to build the following and actually have eyeballs that are going to see the things that you're going to be posting on an ongoing basis. So step 5. So now we've thought through our social media platforms we're getting involved in. We set them up so they're nice, they're branded, they've got good messaging. So now we've got to think through our strategy, right? We've got to map out what we're going to post, when we're going to post it, and really be strategic with putting out information that's going to be relevant and topical for our customer base. And so for me, the social media success formula is put out educational content, publish it in many places, and it helps to make you the industry expert. And so the result is you're going to have credibility and more referrals. And so you still need to have a marketing plan behind your social media strategy. It's not enough just to throw up these social media profiles and say, okay, I'm going to post whenever I think about it or whenever I have time. So you want to avoid the mistake of not having a social media plan. You want to think through when and what to post. You want to think through when and how you're going to engage. I'm going to talk more about engagement because social media is a social platform. You don't want to just be unilaterally pushing out information on the social media platforms. That defeats the purpose. You have to put out things that are relevant enough that somebody that's listening, one of these people that you sent the email to or that pressed that like button, will write back, hey, that's funny, I like that. Or, hey, can you send me more details about this? So that you can engage with them and have a conversation. And as other people see you having that conversation, you become instantly more relevant. So don't just think about this as a unilateral, I'm going to post on a daily basis some little tidbit. It's got to be an engagement-based thought process because social media is social. And then you want to think about making sure that you're building this around your marketing plan. So some things to avoid, things you don't want to do. You don't want to just jump in without thinking about your target customer. And so we talked about really spending some time thinking about who your ideal customer is, what their demographics are, and then defining your social media targets. So for some of you, maybe you're more commercially based. You deal with property managers and you want them to refer you. You deal with realtors and you want them to refer you. So if that's the case, then you need to be thinking about crafting messages that are relevant to that market versus if you're dealing with residential customers, they're a totally different thought process. And so just make sure you think that through and then have an editorial calendar. And an editorial calendar sounds fancy, but it's really just 7 days of the week. What days am I going to post and what type of content am I going to put out on those days? So one of the things you might think about doing in the way that we tend to set it up is to have topics that you post on certain days. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you might put out tips. What to do in the event of a plumbing emergency, why you might want to consider tankless, how to maintain, good hot water flow throughout your home. Tuesday and Thursday, put out photos. And you'd be amazed how much more engagement a photo gets than just regular topics. So put out a picture of a really cool bathroom installation, put out a really interesting picture about a faucet, and so maybe then on Saturday and Sunday you could post a coupon or a special offer when you know consumers are most apt to call for your plumbing and HVAC services. And so shuffle it around and see what works. I'm not saying this is your specific plan, but have a plan. Think about what you're going to put on the social media profiles and then break it down in this way. And so as you think about what types of things you can post, a lot of times I wind up hitting a brick wall when I talk with plumbing and HVAC business owners because they say, well, what the heck would I post? Nobody wants to hear what I have to say. I don't have anything interesting that I would even put out on social media or on my blog or anywhere else. Well, the fact is, you're a subject matter expert. There are ideas, there are concepts, there's knowledge in your head that isn't knowledge that the average individual has. And so you can take that subject matter expert status or information and turn it into relevant content. And so I've already fired off a couple of these, but you know things about what to do in the event of a plumbing emergency. You know why somebody might want to consider trenchless sewer replacement versus trenched. You know what somebody should do when they've got a burst pipe. And so write a little list of the things that you happen to have subject matter expertise about, the things that you get questions from customers on an ongoing basis. And you can create content for each one of those. And so you could write an article about, let's just say, the differences between tanked and tankless water heaters, which I'm sure you could talk about for 20 minutes without even stopping and have really valuable points on that topic. And you can take that, and it can result in multiple pieces of content. You can record a video, right, about that. You can post it to your YouTube channel. You can also then reverse post that to your social media platforms. You can post it to your website on the page about water heaters. You can then also take the audio from that and turn it into a podcast. So the point is, you're a subject matter expert. Take the information that you have in your head and turn it into things that other people will find interesting. The other thing I like to point out about that same topic is you don't always have to think in terms of articles. A lot of people, when they think subject content development, they think, okay, well, I got to sit down, I got to type out a 400-word article or a 1,000-word article, which might be painful for you. It might not be inside your comfort zone. Different people can create content in different ways. And so I personally love to be on video, and so I love creating videos. And I've got clients that love to be on video. Not all of them. Obviously, in plumbing and HVAC, you may or may not feel comfortable on video, but maybe you like to talk, and you can talk somebody's ear off if you didn't think like you were going to have to be on a camera. So think about the fact that content can come in multiple platforms. So if you create a video, that video can then be transcribed into text. So you can create a video where you're talking about the benefits of tankless water heaters, use a service like Casting Words, and then have that recording transcribed, and now you've got an article that you can post to your blog that can be syndicated to your social media profiles. And so just realize you don't have to work within the confines of writing content. So some specific examples. Now we've thought through our strategy. We know when we're going to be posting on an ongoing basis. So what are some examples? What are some things we could post? I want to get you past the hump and to the point where, okay, I know what I'm going to do. I know what types of things I'm going to put out, and I can implement this afternoon right after we get off today's session. So here's some examples of some good social media posts. And I've got up here, just a simple Twitter screenshot. And the thing was, never flush Kleenex tissue. The paper fibers do not disintegrate like toilet paper, causing clogs in your toilet. Now that's something, if you put it out and your sphere of influence saw it, they'd be like, hey, I didn't know that. That's interesting. And maybe they'd like it, maybe they'd retweet it, and it's good content. That's the kind of thing you want to be putting out. Another example, you created a blog about 5 questions to ask any plumber before repair. If you've got the right tools in place, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some tools we recommend to automate this, but if you've got the right tools in place, you post that article to your blog, and it will automatically go to your social media profiles. They'll say, hey, latest blog update. 5 updates to ask the plumber before any repair. Examples of social media posts. I talked about photos and imagery being much more engaging than posting tips and updates and things that are text-based. And so here's a picture of a bit of plumbing ingenuity. Need some extra hanging space. And it's a picture of 2 plungers against the wall that are being used as a hanger. And so just fun things like this tend to get a lot of likes, a lot of eyeballs, and a lot of engagement. And people are less apt to unlike you because you're putting up things that are interesting. Here's another example. It's a faucet that's got gummy bears coming out of it. You see this on your Facebook feed, it's going to catch your attention. You're going to say, what was that? And so you can put some little interesting update that would engage. And we saw a lot of engagement on this post when it was put out there. You can also put out tips. So here's an example of a tip. Don't know how to get rid of scratches in your porcelain sink. Here's what you can do. And it's a link to an article you didn't necessarily even have to write, but it just happens to be online, and it's 23 tips that save money and time. And it talks specifically about how to clean your porcelain tub without having to replace it. So as you're posting, sometimes it's equally important to know what not to post as it is to know what to post. So I want to give you some guidelines around what definitely not to post. First of all, you want to follow the 80-20 rule when posting on your social media platforms. So 80% of the things you post should be informational, they should be tips, they should be pictures, and only 20% should be marketing-centric or promotional. If you go onto your social media profiles and you post an update, a coupon, a special offer, a call us now for all of your plumbing or HVAC needs update, that's going to get real annoying really fast for anybody you've developed as a follower. So don't put out promotional posts all the time. 20% of the time, once or twice a week is fine if you're posting every single day, but don't make it your de facto. Keep it relaxed. Your political and religious beliefs, keep that on your personal profile. That's fine. You can be passionate about your religion. You can be passionate about politics. I don't think it's a good idea to start posting that kind of content on your business pages. The personal photos are fine, and I talk a lot about infusing personality. So pictures that are relevant to your business, absolutely. If you've got a picture of a company picnic, a picture of your employees in the field, definitely. But try and keep your vacation photos, the pictures of your kid playing t-ball, keep that to a minimum, if at all. There's a place for having your children and having your personality infused in there, but don't make that what you're posting on an ongoing basis. Remember, this is your professional profile on the social media platforms. And so I talked about some tools that can help you automate the way that you engage on social media, the way that you leverage social media. And so there's a bunch of different platforms. The one I recommend, because it's very easy and it actually happens to integrate with most of the major social platforms, is Hootsuite. And you can go to Hootsuite.com. You can search Hootsuite to learn more about it. And ultimately, the way it works is you can have one dashboard that gives you visibility to LinkedIn, Twitter, Google+, and you can post once and have it hit all of your social media profiles. So the time-saving benefit of a tool like Hootsuite is tremendous because you won't have to log into Facebook and then log into Twitter and then log into LinkedIn to post your updates. You can even schedule your updates out. So I talk about the fact that you should have a daily update to your social media platforms, but that doesn't mean you have to go in and do these updates on a daily basis. I recommend once a week, sit down, put together your 7 social media updates, put them into Hootsuite, already scheduled to your various platforms, one to hit Monday, one to hit Tuesday, one to hit Wednesday, one to hit Thursday, and then it will automatically go out for you throughout the week. And Austin, I see you've got a question. I'm going to answer that momentarily. And so this is a great way to really automate the way that you handle this, because it can be real time consuming if you don't manage it with an automated tool like this. The other cool thing about Hootsuite is it gives you the ability to engage without having to see each one of your social profiles. So you can log into Hootsuite, have a dashboard again that's showing you, I talk about engagement, so as people comment back, unless you have a tool like this, you'd have to log into Twitter to see what somebody might have posted. You'd have to log into Google Plus to see what somebody posted. With Hootsuite, you log in one place, and you can see across all your social media profiles and quickly see that one person wrote something back on your Facebook update and quickly respond right there within Hootsuite. So it's a tremendous time saver, and I highly recommend it. So Austin Chase asked the question, is Hootsuite similar to onlywhere.com? And I apologize, but I'm not familiar with onlywhere.com, so I don't know. I would imagine if it gives you this functionality, it gives you the ability to put out a post and have it hit several places, then I would imagine that it is. So I'm sorry I can't be more specific on that answer, but I'm not familiar with Onlywhere. So again, your social media strategy, what you want to do. Okay, hold on, Austin. Answer my question. Yes, social media automation tool. Okay, great. Thanks, Austin. I'm glad that answered your question. So your social media strategy, right? We already talked in depth about a lot of different platforms and a lot of different things you want to do, but ultimately you want to leverage email to get initial engagement. So leverage your email database, develop an email database if you don't, and use that to get your customers, both past and ongoing, to get to your social media profiles. Do consistent updates to your social media platforms using an automation tool like Hootsuite, so that you have consistent updates that are relevant, that are informative, and engage. You have to engage in your social media platforms. If all you're going to do is put out updates on a daily basis, you're not going to be adding any value. You're actually going to wind up hurting your reputation. So do this in a way that you're putting out relevant stuff and then you're engaging. So if somebody posts something, even if it wasn't directly to you, hey, Billy just graduated from high school, post a little update. Hey, congratulations from the John's Plumbing and HVAC team. These types of updates show that you're not just broadcasting through social media, but that you're using it the way that it's intended, which is a social media platform, which is one-to-one communication. So again, the 6 steps, and if you follow these 6 steps, you'll be well on your way to fully leveraging social media. Understand the power, right? And we talked about the power being leveraging it to get your real customers in your real service area, your real target audience, to press that like, subscribe, follow button so you can get more repeat and referral business. Determine where you're going to engage. So decide which of those main social media platforms you're going to set profiles up on. Set them up. Establish your following. So get your customers, get your people to press that like button, follow button, subscribe button. Map out your content strategy. So start thinking about what you're going to post, and then leverage something like Hootsuite or some other automation platform to post relevant content consistently and engage with your following. So I know there weren't a lot of questions. I'm here. I'd love to answer any follow-up questions that you guys have. I hope you're able to take these ideas and strategies and implement them within your plumbing or HVAC business. If you have questions for me, my name is Josh. The company's Plumber SEO. I can be reached at 866-610-4647. Of course, we do manage these types of services for our plumbing and HVAC customers. And if you'd like to download a guide that really gives you more insight and some screenshots on how you can implement these on your own, you can do that at plumberseo.net/free. It looks like Austin had another question. And the question is, do you know what I should do if I have multiple Facebook pages? Well, without knowing the context of that, I mean, maybe you have multiple brands, so maybe you have one for plumbing and one for water heaters and one for your heating business, then I would say you can keep those independent, post them on a consistent basis as independent entities, and Hootsuite does give you the opportunity to manage multiple Facebook business profiles under one page. And it looks like you've got a follow-up to that, so I'm going to look at it. Austin, it's my same company, but I don't know who set it up. Okay, now I see what you're saying. I would want to isolate it down to the, to the lowest level. So figure out which one of your social media profiles you actually have access to, and decide on that as your main platform, and post to that exclusively going forward. You can send an email to Facebook support, and in rare circumstances, I've been able to have multiple Facebook pages merged into one. But in other circumstances, I've seen those same requests completely ignored. So best practice, get access to the main one, and then send an email into Facebook support asking them to merge it, but then press forward with the one that you have access to and actually has some likes. You're trying to link them together. Yep. In order to link them together, unfortunately, there's no streamlined way to do it. There's no guaranteed way to do it. But if you send an email to Facebook support, and usually you can report a problem, then you might be able to get those fused together. So, Austin, I hope that answers that question. Any other questions, guys? I still see there's a lot of people on the line. So if you have questions, please feel free. You can type them in. You can also, if you want, raise your hand, and then I could unmute you. But if there are no other questions, I'll hang out for a few more minutes. But really appreciate you guys' time.
Well, Josh, I think they got it all the first time around.
I guess so.
You all are free to contact Josh if you come up with some questions after this. I mean, he would love to help you with it. And we will be doing another webinar with Josh. I'm not sure of the date yet, but what's the title of that one going to be, Josh?
The next webinar is going to be Website Conversion Fundamentals. So throughout the course of this series, we talked about search engine optimization, Google Maps optimization, pay-per-click marketing, social media, and all of those are really geared towards how to get people to your website, how to get traffic, how to be ranked where you should be ranked. And the website conversion fundamentals is going to be, now that you've got them on the page, what should you have on the site in order to maximize the conversion in terms of people actually picking up the phone and calling in. So I'm going to go deep as far as where you should have your phone number, what type of web capture you should have, what the messaging should be on each page, what your thought process should be in order to really maximize the conversion. And so that's going to be the next series or the next session specifically on website conversion fundamentals.
Okay, well, thank you. And everybody watch your email, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever your preference is, because we'll have notices out there a week or so prior to the webinar and give you an opportunity to sign up. Josh, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Charlie. Thanks, guys.